Use a dart size that is equal to the dosage needed. Now, I had to give myself a crash course in darts. We don't use dart guns at our place, so I had to go to the neighbor's place and have a lesson. So if you need to give 10 cc's of product, use a 10 cc dart. If you need to use a 5 cc product, use a 5 cc dart, okay? What I hear guys doing is that they're using 10 cc darts and mixing stuff in it. Dr. Kip, is that called compounding? Okay, that's highly against the law. And the other thing I hear is that the dart companies say that if you can't fill that, so maybe the dosage is, say, 6 cc's and you have a 10 cc dart, that you should fill the rest of that with water. Okay, I'm not a pharmacologist, I'm not a veterinarian, but I know what happens when you dilute a product and we are not going to adequately treat an animal. Don't use them on moving cattle. Dart delivery should be as close to an animal as practical and safe. I think this is a place that if you're using darts that we all probably need to work on. Sighting, training, and maintenance. You need to clean those guns. Because if you're not cleaning them, it's just like what happens when you don't clean your gun when you go hunting. The thing doesn't fire right and all that stuff. Cleanliness and sterility of darts is really important. Probably the grossest picture I've seen is a secondary infection from dirty darts, pretty much taking over an animal. It's not very pretty. Use the appropriate charge for your situation. Again, use the correct dosing of medications, and remember cattle safety and human safety. And I'll tell you this, after you're done using those darts, try to find them. So we had hunters coming from the Sioux Falls area to hunt antelope last fall. And they walked across our neighbor's place, and one of them ended up with a dart through the bottom of their shoe. So try to find those, and I know it's tough, but you don't want them in the hooves of your livestock, and you certainly don't want them in your feet. And so try to find those. And I'm going to end with this sign. I took this picture at the National Western Stock Show about 10 years ago. It's from Chipotle. And you know, Chipotle kind of runs an aggressive campaign against the use of antibiotics in livestock. And this sign says, "Get your antibiotics from your doctor, not your beef." We have the lowest residue rate of any country in the world. It's the lowest it's ever been. Let's keep it that way and tell our good story that you are getting your antibiotics from your doctor and not your beef. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Let's give Lisa and Nicole another round of applause. What Lisa didn't mention is that in 2016 she got a BQA Educator of the Year award, so she's pretty good at what she does. So with that, I just want to share with you all a very real story that we had here at Wulf Cattle, and what kind of helped us understand and appreciate the BQA, what BQA trains our employees, and BQA auditing at our sites. So we got a call, it's probably about a year ago, from a packer that we sell a lot of our beef to, and they had gotten a complaint from a grocery store that found this needle in their product. And it was traced back to a time frame when it traced it back to a lot of cattle, which it was us and 2 other producers had sold cattle to, feedlot producers, and then from there we could trace it back to whose cattle we had that we had sold that day. So it was very real to us because first, look, the grocery store found it. It wasn't, they didn't find it at the packing plant. They missed it at the packing plant. And it got all the way through there, and what if somebody would have ate that? Right? I mean, think about it. So what we did in this scenario is we traced it back to whose ranches it was. We told them and showed them all our BQA certifications of how at the feed yard, how we give how we take care of our vaccines, how we administer vaccines, and really talked about how we like the animal handling and the practices that we have in place. And that's as far as we could go, and really it lies on our integrity. And so that's what the BQA program helps us with, and that's why we think it's so important. So with that, I would like to introduce Dr. Kip Lukasavage. He is with Production Animal Consultants.
Yeah.
And he's going to talk to you about kind of the cow-calf area and where it all begins.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. This is a great pleasure. Wulf Cattle and Riverview Farms, they gave me an opportunity when I was back in Ainsworth, Nebraska, living there, to come work with their operations and work with their people. I think they got a kind of a taste of our education that we provide. I mean, when we're with their teams at the feed yards or at the ranch, we'll spend hour, 2 hours, sometimes maybe longer, just sitting around a table and jotting ideas off each other. But we go through the BQA training. We go through a lot of preparation steps. I mean, like 2 months ago, we had a meeting up there in January talking about what our calving and what the expectations of calving was going to be on the ranch, what our plans were, what our handling was going to be, and so forth. And so that's what we're going to share a little bit with today. Some of the videos will be from the Atkinson Ranch at Sandy Ridge. Some of the videos will be from Meat Animal Research Center and Clay Center, where we do a lot of work as well in the cow-calf ranch. I really enjoy doing that because the feedlots get boring sometimes to me. It's just every day. Stephanie, I got Stephanie Poultry from the University of or Virginia Tech Vet School. She's shadowing us for 3 weeks. Poor girl's trying to figure out why we travel so much. She told me today I'm the only person that literally can travel 4 hours and be on the phone for 4 hours while I'm traveling, and but with like 20 different people. And so she never gets to talk to me in the pickup, but we talk at the feedlot. So, but we're going to talk about this today. Is let's see. Oops. There we go. So where it all starts. Okay. The two corner pictures, not with the sunsets. The two corner pictures are pictures that I grabbed off Wulf Cattle's pictures at Sandy Ridge. And what a beautiful place. I mean, if you guys have never got to go up there and tour that, I mean, my word, one, the people are awesome. And the teams are great up there. And the handling is phenomenal. But the sites are just gorgeous. Looking down the Niobrara River, I mean, holy Jesus, I don't know if there's any better sight that you can see in the world. That one corner picture up in the top, when I go through airports and people want to know what Nebraska really looks like, they think that's like Tahiti or Jamaica. That's what a ranch looks like in Nebraska on a pretty night. That other bottom sunset, I like taking pictures of sunsets as I travel. I don't get to do much else. I mean, that's what I have my camera for. But that's between Atkinson and Burwell, Nebraska. So just taking a side out there. But where it all starts is the cow-calf ranch. Okay. So what we're going to quick talk about, because they told me I had 35 minutes. Normally I can drag this out for 2 hours. Hey, but I know it's supper. We just ate supper, so or dinner. It's supper to me, but it's dinner to some. So we're going to talk about acclimation. How many people have been introduced to acclimation, whether it's feedlot or cow-calf? Anybody have? Yeah. Okay, we got a couple, 3, 4. Okay, what's acclimation to me is it's about adapting the animal, and it can be always within your own herd. But when we bring first and second calf heifers into a closer gathering site for calving. Some of us do that. Some of us, like from Arizona, we don't do that. We calve them out where they're at, and I appreciate that. That's good stuff. I enjoyed my conversation over there today for supper. But when we bring them in, sometimes what we see is these heifers will just sit there and stir around the pen a little bit, or the paddock, however big of a paddock we have, and what does that do if they're going to be calving in the next week or two, what does that do to colostrum? We ever think about that? What's the most important nutrient to the calf? Anything we do, colostrum. I don't care what vaccines we use. I do, but veterinarian. Okay? I don't sell the product, though, so that's a good thing, right? So I'm not a seller, just a teacher. So, but colostrum is like the most, that's like the lifeline of that calf for the next 6 months of his life. Okay? That's how important that thing is. And when these heifers are stirring around in a pen, because every time you change address on a cow, that's stress. If you don't get that, go ahead and pack up your bags out of your house tomorrow and tell mother, we're going to move, to Atkinson, Nebraska. And then, yeah. At least, but you do that, mother's going to probably, that's where you got to take the euthanasia gun and go hide it, because you're next on the list, right? Okay, that's stress. So even on those cows, you got to think about it the same way. That's stress to them. And when they're stressed and you get that cortisol release, all of a sudden that inhibits prolactin, and prolactin is what drops milk. So when you have heifers that aren't dropping their milk right away, think about the stress that you have them under and the environment and maybe what you've done. So when you see those cows turning around, that's a great time to acclimate that herd. And so I'm going to show you here. I think I got to use the mouse here. I'm going to show you. This is at Clay Center, Nebraska. This is Dr. Tom and one of the workers there, caregivers there. And when we got there to the ranch that day, what we seen in this is we seen these heifers. They just moved them there 2 days ago, and they were just kind of stirring around that paddock. That's about a 60-acre paddock in that is what's there total. And so what we did is I got up on one of the Army bunkers, because that place sits on an old Army bunker site. And so I got up there and I was videotaping while they did this. But you can kind of see that the cattle, they're not even rested. They're just kind of stirring a little bit still. Okay? And so what we did is we're going to show them the four corners of this paddock, and we're going to get these animals to start trailing straight rather than being all discombobulated and goofy. So when we did that, I'm going to kind of this is an 18-minute video, and I only got 35 minutes to talk. Okay? So you can see as those those heifers are going off to that corner, you can see how they're spread out all over, right? And that, to me, that's still kind of a clump of cattle. That's not good trailing at all. And so what we do when we get them over to that corner, we're gonna ask these cows from the front to start moving down that fence line, and we're gonna pull them. Okay? When we draw cattle, there's three motions in life when you're handling stock. There's a drawing motion, okay, where you create the conversation, you ask for movement, they go by, and then you just keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling the rest of the herd with you. There's forcing motion, where you put pressure on to create motion, okay, and then there's maintenance motion, which is your footsteps are matching the foot speed of those cattle as you trail them along off the side. Okay? If you go faster than them, you stop them. If you go slower than them, you stop them, because they look around and they go, where'd you go? Okay? So always think about that. That's just kind of goofy. That's a goofy thought. That's a Polish thought, but that's my way of thinking. Okay? I like to work from the front of herds. I don't like to get behind them and push them where I want them to go. I like to pull them. I always tell people, if you don't understand that, you need to decide whether it's easier to back up a trailer 60 mile an hour or pull it. Okay? Or go ahead and put a log chain down on the ground and decide if it's easier to push the chain or pull it. Okay? I find it's easier to pull things. So I treat cattle the same way as a log chain. I'm going to pull them as long as I can go. Okay? So we get what you're going to see is Dr. Tom. I'm going to get him started there. And I'm going to fast forward. That's what we want right there. So you're going to see a long line of cattle strung out and moving. Now we can move those for a long ways because of our, we got, I don't know how many is in that herd, or about 200 head in that herd or more. Okay. That ranch has 8,000 cows, so we have them all in different spots. But our gates are only 20 feet wide when we move cows through the gate. And so we want a string because we can't get 200 head through that gate at once. And otherwise we're going to be fixing corner posts and a lot of fence and waste a lot of time. Okay. If your cows are not used to you being on foot, because sometimes you have to get off to tag that calf. If all they ever see you is being on a horse, get off your horse when you get them captured and just walk amongst them with your horse. They're used to your horse, but you got to get them used to you too. You're the coyote. Okay, you're the one who's creating the stress. So we do that, and all that is that's acclimation. That's getting them used to going. The importance of that is on the colostrum. That calf relies on that colostrum. Like I said, that's the lifeline of himself for the next 6 months. How much does a calf need? Well, the rule of thumb is they need about 5 to 6% of their body weight in the first 6 hours of life. How many of us has heard that, you need to get colostrum to that calf in the first 24 hours of its life? Or within a day and a half. Well, if you're 36 hours, he's only going to absorb 7% of that colostrum at that time. In the first 6 hours, he'll absorb 66% of what you give him. So it's really, really important, okay? Make sure he gets enough. And this is also why when we go to tagging calves, first understand why we're tagging them. Because the mom doesn't need to know that it's calf 267 so that she knows that that's her calf. I mean, you're tagging them for identification, for use for records, for traceability. Okay? Those records need to be kept for 3 years. Believe it or not. If there's ever an incident at the packing plant or in a food safety issue, you better be able to track back, because that stuff can come back and haunt you. But when we're tagging calves, do not tag a wet calf. If that calf is still wet, how much colostrum has he drank? So do we really want to be interfering right at that time? And I gave this talk in Iowa as well. When we talk about goofy cows sometimes, typically we make them more goofy. Okay? If you have this cow, I always talk to the Mexicans, if you have a loco cow, don't make her more loco. Okay? I only got one Spanish word in there, but that's... Okay. But that's okay. That's why I always have Jose with me. He translates for me. Is that right? Or I have Orlando. But the point of that is that I relate everything back to humans. And so one day I was calling Kelly, our marketer, and she was within 2 weeks of giving birth to Brett. And when I called her, she was crying on the phone as we were having our conversation. I says, did I say something wrong? And she says, no. She goes, I just don't even know why I'm crying. And I said, well, it's just hormones, Kelly. It's just hormones. And believe it or not, cows are the same way. When they go right through that prepartum period, they're a little tense. Some of them are happy. Okay? And when they have post-calving, that 6 hours post-calving, their hormones are all over the place. You'll sometimes have cows that'll just beat a calf into the ground a little bit, and we'll say we're going to call that cow because she just don't like her calf. Have you ever thought about just pulling the calf off to the side, giving him some colostrum, and just separating the two for about 6 to 12 hours, and then put them back together and then see what happens? When her hormones get right, she's a lot better. And I always say, like with women, some of them, after giving birth, some of them are happy and giddy. Okay? Some of them are crying, and some of them are really mad. And they don't want to see the husband. Okay? And there's cows out there that are like that too. So when you go interfere with that calf, she just like kill you sometimes. But just give her some time. Let her straighten that out a little bit in her own mind and get her blood right, and everything will be good. Okay? So when we tag calves, or when I teach people to tag calves, whether it be at Wulf Cattle or at Clay Center, what I do is we always go and introduce ourselves to the cow first, because here's the predator instinct in a human. When we see a calf laying down on the ground, and the cow's over there, and the calf's butt is right here, he's facing that way, what do? Oh, we get down. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We stare at it. We're going to go get it. How do we look? Just like a coyote. And then we get so upset when she comes to kill us. You ever think about that? Why wouldn't you go over to her and say, hey, I see him over there, and I'm just going to go and take care of him just a little bit. Okay? I'm going to pull him out of your arms, and I'm going to make sure I put this tag in his ear, maybe give him a shot at vaccine, and I'm going to give him back to you. Okay? Wouldn't that be more appropriate? That seems softer to me, didn't it? I mean, which is better, this or this? Okay? So, this, you really think I'm a goofy devil when I leave here. Just ask Stephanie, she knows already. She's only spent 4 days with me. So this is at Clay Center, and this is us. We're tagging, and I think he put me in this position just to test me, is what he did. But what we do is even with a side-by-side, or if you're on horse, or if you're on foot, we're asking that cow, we're creating a little bit of separate. We're just asking her to move. We went to her first, okay? And we're just going to separate here just a little bit. But when he does this, what I want you to watch is what because they always make me do this. It's just a test. But I don't go to that calf first, do I? Where do I go? And the reason I said I think he's testing me, because he put me between two cows that have calves. And so I literally did. I greeted both cows. You have to. Man, if I would have went after that calf, I'd have been like a sandwich. And I guarantee you, he would have just stayed there and videotaped this and watched me roll on the ground. And now this, I always know that the calf. So what I'm doing here, I know that calf he wants to go to that other cow. That seems like a safe spot. So I just let him catch me. Okay, jumps in my arms. I say, hey, there, that a boy. Okay, now I can work with him, but I always put back and face the cow, make sure everybody's right when I do these things. Just always safety first. But look how much better they are. I used to be at this place when I was in vet school. I'd do this stuff with them, and when I didn't know any better about handling cattle and livestock, I mean, Dr. Tom and Bud Williams taught me everything I know. And believe it or not just those guys taught me everything I know. There's people at Wulf Cattle, there's people at this station today that keep teaching me. We do this as a team, and we work together to get better. Because how old is a calf when he's weaned?